A to the K.
A to the K.
A to the K.
Hello, welcome to the A2theK Wrestling Show, where we're talking Forbidden Doors, and boy, were they blown off the hinges. Pretty good pay-per-view, all in all, I would say, considering at the start we weren't really massively into it.
I think we're a really good example of like how they can sell a pay-per-view to people who are not necessarily like big New Japan guys, because like a lot of this pay-per-view was lost on me, like in terms of booking. But when you watched it, it was a fucking good pay-per-view.
Yeah,
you know?
that's a good way to sum it up.
Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of people there. I'm like, who's that? Who's that? Is that a big deal? But then, obviously, when you get into it and you watch the pay-per-view, you can see that there's some really talented guys here, and it was a really well put together pay-per-view. So,
indeed. So let's not beat around the bush. Let's kick off with the buy-in, shall we? And we'll also keep a running score throughout as well to see, how it all kind of played out. Who got the more wins, AEW or New Japan? But let's kick off with the first match for the buy-in, and we got to see the Factory, which was QT Marshall or QT Marshall, as he likes to call himself. And Aaron Solo taking on Hirooki, Goto, and Yoshi-Hashi. And yeah, I think it was pretty obvious the way this was ultimately going to go. It was very much a let's just put some matches on while people are filling up the stadium kind of thing, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And no offense to obviously QT and stuff like that, but it's just one of those. I don't think anybody was desperate to see this, and I think this was a way to give the New Japan guys an early win as well, to show that it's going to be somewhat of a level playing field. So not a whole hell of a lot to say, but ultimately Goto and Yoshi-Hashi picked up the win, and the Factory continued to be bad jobbers, which is...
I mean, honestly, I think that's pretty much the position he puts himself in, isn't it? Like, look at when Hook was starting to get over. It was one of the first steps he took was him and QT, and I think he understands, like, it's not about like the Factory being over at any point, is it? It's just about like you say, getting people over. So
yeah, exactly.
Fair play to them. They know their job and they do their job.
Indeed.
Much like a factory. So the next match, Carl, we saw Lance Archer going up against Nick Comoroto. Comoroto,
I think. Comoroto, even though it's pronounced
Comoroto. And I looked at the O and I'm like, Anyway, do you know what? We didn't know about this ahead of time. I don't think it was involved in our predictions. Although we don't necessarily do the buy-in anyway, do we?
I mean, to be fair, we just put up everything that was announced, and I think they only announced a few things last minute, but this wasn't even announced at all. It literally just took place on the nights, which was like, okay.
And, I don't even know what you class this as, because this was, technically, it was two AEW guys, so when you come in to do your scores, Carl, I don't know where you're going to place it, but obviously Archer has done New Japan stuff, so was he the New Japan guy in this? Maybe. And I don't know what you made of Archer being in the buy-in situations. We're not seeing like a great deal of him in like a higher position in AEW at the moment, but obviously a super talented guy. We actually saw Lance taking the win, and actually made quite short work of Comoroto. So
yeah,
what do you think of this one?
It's just weird, isn't it? Like he was on Dynamite in like the go home for obviously the pay-per-view, and then just randomly gets added to it. I feel like he should be in a higher position on the card in general, really. So it's a bit of an odd one, the fact he's kind of not being used at all, and then was straight away used quite favourably, and then just plonked on the pay-per-view randomly. So it's a strange one. I don't really know what's going on with him at the minute. I mean, the fact he's on the pay-per-view, they're keeping him in their eye, aren't they? But like, I don't know what the long-term plans are for him. No. It's very strange, but yeah, he got the win. He looked good. He did a fantastic. What's the move that I can't remember the move that Taker does where he walks on the ropes, old school. So he basically did a version of that, which then he did a backflip into like a moonsault. So I was like, that's pretty sick. So he's very agile for such a big guy. So
Taker could have done that if he wanted to.
So for an impromptu match that came out of nowhere, yeah, it was pretty okay. It didn't last long, but is what it is. The next one we got...
Sounds like sex life.
The next one we got Keith Lee versus Swerve Strickland. Swerve, sounds like your sex life. Versus El Desperado, again, sounds like your sex life. And Yoshinobu Kanemaru.
Sounds like no, it doesn't
work. Yeah, so it's a weird thing at the minute with Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland, because again they're kind of setting up this weird thing where they're a tag team, but they're not really on the same page, but they both want to win, and they're kind of again almost trying to one up each other in some way, but it's very odd. I can kind of understand why people aren't best pleased with Keith Lee's position.
Like the odd couple.
Hey. You can understand why people are a bit upset with Keith Lee's position since he came over, but at the same time, they can't book everyone they sign who deserves a bigger push. Can't push everybody to the moon, can they? So
I try and give a bit of face to AEW in that sense of like, I know it's become almost like a bit of a given that you come in, you lose for a bit, and then you might get used, and they shouldn't necessarily always do that. But like you say, I've got to have faith that in terms of long-term booking, they've got some plans for Keith in the future. He's definitely, he's got the potential, certainly, to be like a TNT champion or something along that line in the next year or so, I would say.
Yeah, you'd imagine they do something with him, but anyway, they got the win in this one. But it was, just a match that was one of those really. It didn't have a whole lot of story behind it. It was just two of AEW's guys versus two of New Japan's guys, and the AEW guys came out on top. So.
Nice. Well, Carl, last one of the buy-in, I believe. We had the Gunn Club and Max Caster going up against the New Japan Dojo.
Mm-hmm.
Now, firstly, I want to know your thoughts on, we had Danhausen, naturally, interrupting the start of the match to debut the Arse Boys theme song. So firstly, I want to know what you make of
Well, let me tell you my thoughts on that, Anthony. Right? And Danhausen, if you're listening, I can't get the damn song out of my head. Why did you play it again? It's that one. Have you heard it before? Where he's it's the Ass Boys, Billy Gunn and the Ass Boys. Have you heard it?
I hadn't heard it before personally,
right.
But
it's one of the. I'd heard it a while ago.
You've used it before Forbidden Door, have you?
So it was just something that Danhausen, I think, just got commissioned basically with someone he knows who's a musician. He did a thing and then it just went away, and then this is the first time I think they put it on like TV, but I've heard it before and it really got in my head and I forgot it existed, and he's brought it back out again now, and I've been listening to it on repeat. It's just such a low key legit banger. So firstly, Danhausen, damn you for that.
I didn't actually know about it until this pay-per-view, so I've obviously missed that.
Oh yeah,
I assume that's come from the vlogs and stuff like that where you said that before.
I don't even know how I found it. Must have just been, I think it was just Danhausen's vlog or his channel or whatever, and just yeah. But
I don't know what you made of it, because this was obviously a bit of a mechanism. We had Austin and Colton running to the back, which turned the match into a 4-on-2.
Mm-hmm.
But despite the heavy advantage for New Japan Dojo, we still saw Billy and Max managing to take the win. So what do you make of this? Because this isn't just like an AEW win. This is like, we beat you in a 4-on-2.
Like I know it's the Dojo, so I don't think they were ever expected to get the win really. But yeah, it really doesn't. It doesn't do them any favors to get beat in a 2-on-4 essentially. But yeah, I also, just as a sidebar as well, I fucking love the Acclaimed. I legitimately love them. They are fantastic. They are so good. They're like probably one of my favorite things in wrestling right now. I just love it. So good. Even like fair play to Bowens, like he's injured and stuff like that, and he's still so good. He's just the hype man. Even like the Sesame Daddy ass, like love it. It's just the whole shtick. It's fantastic. It's brilliant.
They are. I'll give you two. They are good, and I'm still shocked at how much they grew on you, how quickly they grew on you, because I know you didn't like them at all.
I was just like, oh god, they're coming out doing the John Cena shtick with the rap stuff, and then I was like, okay, no, they're fantastic, fair play. So yeah, I've been wrong before, and I'll admit it. But yeah, that was the buy-in, Anthony. So ultimately, if you take out the Lance Archer fiasco, essentially we got 2-1 to AEW. So AEW win the early battle. So let's move ahead into the main card. Kicking off the show, we had, and again, this one was a mix of AEW and New Japan, so we won't include it in the overall scores, but essentially we had Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara, and Suzuki taking on Eddie Kingston, Yuta, and Umino. And yeah, it was a really, really strong opening match. I didn't care for this at all when it was announced. I think I was almost slating it last week, just saying this kind of feels like it's come from nowhere. Like, what's the point of this? What's it really
did have
achieving?
that feel to it, yeah.
It was like Sammy's literally only just joined up with them like the other day, and now he's in a match and stuff, and now he's in the JAS, like what all this kind of stuff, what's going on. But yeah, fair play, and mad props. It over-delivered on my expectations, and yeah, really solid opening to the match. And we also got to see potentially setting up something for down the line for New Japan with Jericho, maybe. But Umino, who I didn't know who he was before this, and he looked fantastic. So he could be a potential star, absolutely. But yeah, backstage, Jericho got a fireball, put it in Umino's face after saying that he'd earned his respect. So who knows where that's going to lead? Potentially get Jericho Umino down the line.
Who knows where that's going to go?
Wouldn't be a bad match. Yes, I love it. I love it. That was good.
Yeah, that's some bad dad jokes all around. Buns for days. So, Carl, the next one. I don't have a great deal to say about the match itself. It was a decent match. Well, I mean, it's always going to be. We had the winner-take-all match. We had FTR going up against Cobb and O'Khan and going up against Rappongi Vice. And I think the right decision was made here. FTR took the win and took all the accolades, all the belts, everything. And I think this is the right choice. I think FTR have been on an absolute tear as of late, and this just adds further to their sort of like basically the build as like the best tag team in the fucking world. And
makes them 7-star FTR, Anthony.
It certainly does. So I think it was the right choice made, and it was a banger of a match. Like, I don't personally I don't have a lot of knowledge or detail on the other opponents. Obviously, everyone looked great here, but there's not a lot I can say about them. But I do definitely think, and it's not just because we are in this scenario, especially more AEW than we are anything else. But I do think the right choice was made there with FTR because this just seems like the natural way they've been being booked lately. They're absolute fucking legends and super talented guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And plus they were like over like Rover in this whole thing. Like they were probably they got one of the biggest pops of the whole night, to be fair to them. So they're killing it now. I think it's one of those because they are good as heels, but I just think they're one of those tag teams that are just so good, and you can tell they love the business so much that they just naturally fall into a face team as well. So
I just think it's crazy how it doesn't even feel like that long ago that people were speculating like, oh, are they unhappy in their position in AEW? Are they going to leave AEW as well? Are they just not happy? And now it's like they've got all the accolades and they seem quite fucking happy.
Yeah, I mean, they're loving it, aren't they? They've got the little bromance with Punk, and then they've all got a bromance with Bret Hart. They're living the dreams, aren't they? So
everybody loves Bret.
Everybody loves Bret. Yes, they do. Yes,
except maybe Sean.
Yeah, but no one likes him either, the prick. So, not that I harbour grudges or anything like that. So, moving on to the next one, and yes, I was right, Anthony. The All Atlantic Championship. It is. It's going to be the workhorse title. It is. It's needed. We've got it, and I love it.
I'm going to be big enough to say here, I'm glad you were right. I can't even remember what my prediction was.
Oh, no. Don't get me wrong. My prediction was wrong. I think we both thought it was...
this because you've told me before that you really want Pac to have this.
Oh, I really wanted Pac. I just didn't believe they would do it. So I think we both predicted Miro because it seemed like that was going to be the thing, that the way that they would go. But I'm so happy that Pac has got a belt. I was saying to you last week that he's only really won the Cruiserweight title over in WWE.
This is probably why I was convinced that you were picking Pac.
Oh, yeah, because I backed Pac, but just didn't back Pac to win this match, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised. I thought the match itself was awesome. I'm going to sound really disrespectful now to Clark Connors, but he just didn't need to be in the match for me. He wasn't bad. He just didn't need to be there.
Yeah, I'll take your point. Had this have been a triple threat, you wouldn't have really batted an eye, would you?
No, and it's one. I get it. You've got to have like New Japan guys in there and stuff, but he spent most of his time getting knocked out of the ring and just not doing much. And then he had one cool moment. Well, he had more than one, but he had a cool moment where he speared Miro through the table, and then he had a moment where, you know, could he have won it kind of thing. But ultimately, he was never going to win it. So he was more of a distraction than anything else. But yeah, I was very, very pleasantly surprised that Pac picked up the win, and I love that little bastard so much. So. Yeah, made up for him, and yeah, he deserves it, man. He's one of the AEW originals, and now he's got something to show for it, and it's well deserved.
Definitely, and I really look forward to seeing where he goes with this as well. I mean, they want to obviously they're going to want to push this title. It's a new title. They're going to want to sort of give it a little bit of prominence on TV for a bit. They're going to want to have some really good sort of defenses of it. I can't see them turn the title over super quick. I think it's been a long time coming for Pac anyway, so I'm super excited to see where this goes.
Yeah, I think what's exciting is I don't think we know where it's going to go. Like I feel like the Pac and Malakai Black thing's been done for a bit, so maybe they won't go down that route. So I'm excited to see who the challenge is going to be. You've got to assume it's going to be somebody who can absolutely go. So bangers of matches are coming our way.
So, Carl, the next one. Right, we saw Bullet Club going up against the Dudes with Attitudes. And surprisingly, Carl, the Dudes with Attitudes took the win.
You say surprisingly.
I say surprisingly. I was expecting Bullet Club. I really was.
Yeah, to be fair, you did predict that. I think it was an interesting one. I don't know why. So I predicted that it was going to be Dudes with Attitudes, but I think I was just weighing it up, and I thought they wouldn't have Sting lose it, and I think obviously they just had the Young Bucks win the belts, so I don't know why. Part of me just thought to go with
right. I'm going to be honest. I've said for a while, Sting can do no wrong for me, right? He's just a fucking madman, right? And a lot of people have referenced that, like, oh, this harks back to the WCW days. He's done it before, etc. But it just doesn't help, does it? When the 2 super kicks to the face and he's like, hulking up, if you will. I don't know what they called it back in the day for Sting, but I don't know. For no selling the super kicks didn't do it for me. I'm sorry, but I know it's Sting, and I've said, like, even when he put the Scorpion Deathlock on, I think both members of 2.0, I was totally fine with it. But I don't know. For me, when you're pushing the Young Bucks the way you have, and when the Young Bucks are doing what they're doing currently, it just didn't feel right that he no-sold their super kick. And I know you have your opinions on the super kick, Carl, because it's become very much not a finisher these days, but it's their iconic move, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Everybody's got one. Like, everybody does a super kick now. It's like,
I know.
It is ridiculous. So, but
I
no,
don't know how you feel about the super kick, but it should have landed some sort of impression on him.
Yeah, I think you're right. To be fair, it's one of those you have to kind of suspend belief a little bit when you're watching a Sting match, don't you? But
yeah,
it's one of those. He obviously the way he started the match by diving off that friggin' thing, it's like a madman. That's like this guy. He's in fantastic. I mean, when we saw him, he's in fantastic shape, isn't he? Let's be honest.
It is unreal. I know people get on it AEW over this, and on some level you could say it's scary given his age and stuff, but like, he's done so much with AEW now and been fine. You gotta wonder, like, why he never had a decent run in WWE.
Yeah,
like, it pisses me off that we never got Sting Taker, even more so looking at how well he can go here.
I know it's just gonna go down as one of those matches that if only, isn't it? But it's one of those. He's definitely having a very, very good swan song here in AEW, and yeah, you've got a point about the whole selling thing, but it's one of those. I think he's just
I've seen it on social media. I know some people loved it, and again, some people loved it because it's referencing WCW and stuff. I just didn't think it was the right time, and I think there's a time and a place for the Sting no selling, or the Sting just totally dominating the tag team, which he seems to do a fair bit. But yeah, and I think Sting's fucking awesome, and I don't even mind that Dudes with Attitude took the win. In all fairness, I think it was that spot with the super kick that kind of did it.
Yeah, I think I wasn't really that over with Darby in this match for whatever reason. It didn't feel like a Darby match, and he felt a bit off as well. He was barely had any face paint on. He was even more kind of just like, emo than usual. He just, I don't know what was up with him, to be fair. But yeah, strange one. Normally he's just guaranteed to deliver, but this just didn't feel like one of his best. He was definitely overshadowed by Sting.
It's hard not to be. It's Sting.
Well, I mean, to be fair, he's held his own whenever he's done stuff with Sting stuff. He's always come out with like really memorable moments, but yeah, kind of drawing a blank thinking what Darby did in this match just wasn't one of his best. Yeah,
there's not a lot of memorable Darby moments, to be fair, coming out of it.
Strange. So the next one, and I'm sure you'll want to weigh in on this one, but Thunder Rosa defending against Toni Storm, and for me, this was the match the Thunder was capable of having as the AEW Women's Champ. It was a change of pace as well, because we'd had a lot of like high intensity kind of flippy shit dives, this, that, and the other. This was slow, methodical, kind of feeling each other out. Some really stiff shots in there as well. Everything looked like brutal. It was just really enjoyable, excellent work, and massive respect to the both of them. Really, I don't know. Obviously,
this one for me,
you're the Thundermark.
This was personally a fucking relief, because I am a Thundermark. That's fairly honest. But even I have to admit, realistically, if Toni ever took the win, it would have been a choice that a lot of people would have been super pleased with, and I couldn't have denied it being a good choice. But I really wanted a good, solid match for Thunder during her women's championship run, where she defends the title, and sadly, we haven't really had that just yet. This match will go down as like a fucking good match that she's had during her title run, and that's exactly what I wanted. And I'm made up she won. And I'm made up it was a banger of a match, especially after the shit she took for her previous match.
Yeah, definitely. I think something that, especially now that she's been champ, that she's always been doing really well is she proper steps it up from like an entrance, like gear and attire and stuff like that, like the proper full like headdress thing and stuff that she had on and stuff like that. Like she looks big time, like main event, which was really good. But
she's Thunder fucking Rosa, Carl.
Yeah, she is, and she's still our champion. So yes, very much relieved, I'm sure, that you are with that result.
Damn right I am. God damn right. So Carl, the next one is a match that I don't think either of us were particularly thrilled on. Fortunately, the right choice made, I think. But Will Ospreay going up against Orange Cassidy, and this just seemed, no offense to OC, but it just seemed like an unusual choice for Ospreay, because obviously a lot of people are so big on him. He looks incredible in the Indies in general, but in New Japan, and it just seemed like, because of the OC gimmick, and again, it's nothing against OC himself, but because of Orange Cassidy's gimmick, it just seemed like a crazy match to put together when there's so many opponents people were probably clamoring for this. But you know what? It was a really good match. And, the right choice was made with Ospreay taking the win. And we got Shibata making an appearance after the match to run off Ospreay. And this is where it's probably lost on you and me a little bit, Carl, but it certainly got the fans on side. And obviously is building, I assume, something for New Japan that we may not get to see in AEW. But again, it ended up being quite a solid match. But I don't know, I still wasn't overly sold on this as the matchup itself. But at least we didn't have a Cassidy win. No offense to Cassidy.
Yeah, so I think firstly about Shibata, I was like, who the fuck is that guy? No idea who he was. All the fans proper pop for him. So
yeah,
it's one of those. I think.
Get the reaction, but
well, I think it's one of those where it was bound to happen, where there was going to be stuff happening for New Japan, and because we don't follow New Japan, it's just one of those. You have to just go, okay, I'm guessing he's a big deal. The commentary team made it sound like he was a big deal and he'd been away for a bit or something like that. So yeah, interesting. Maybe he's going to be the new challenger for Ospreay. But in terms of the match itself, you know what? I was really surprised how good it was, and I think I need, probably both of us as well, we need to probably just stop sleeping on Orange Cassidy, because every time he's in a match, we're just like, oh, why is it Orange Cassidy? Like this is, and every time he does over deliver. So it's one of those. I
think it's because it's a comedy gimmick, so straight away you assume it's not going to be taken seriously. I think that's, you always kind of get lulled into that expectation.
Yeah, and I think I've seen bits of Ospreay, not loads, but yeah, I get it. I firmly get it. He's gold. Love the guy. Yeah. He's I'm
quite hoping we get a run of Ospreay in AEW, to be honest. I know it's quite clear that there's still got some New Japan stuff going on, so it's probably not the case, but they do still have a working relationship, so I'm hoping we get a lot more Ospreay in AEW.
Yeah, he's absolutely quality, man. I'd love to see more of him, whether it's in Ring of Honor, AEW.
I look forward to a picture of him and Tony Khan hugging.
As Tony Khan weeps. But yeah, I feel like we're going to have to start watching Ring of Honor as well. I can't bring myself to do New Japan and Ring of Honor and Impact. It's just, there's too much.
We barely have time for anything else.
We barely have time for this. But yeah, it's one of those. We're going to have to try and monitor, people like Ospreay and stuff like that. If they do end up making.
I think we're gonna have to like bring ourselves like to a point where we're just watching stars instead of shows.
Yeah, it might
just follow. We just follow Ospreay matches or something like that. Yeah. I don't know.
It's one of those, like, if our favourites just don't happen to be on, I don't know, WWE or AEW that week, we just don't watch any of the shows. Sorry, no update. But yeah, to be fair, I thoroughly enjoyed this. I thought it was really good. Fair play to Cassidy. He always over-delivers, and Ospreay he's quality. So, yeah, enjoyed.
Agreed.
Now the next one. So, the mystery opponents, everybody seemed to know who this was going to be. And it was Claudio Castagnoli, formerly known as Cesaro, and yeah, it's pretty cool seeing him there. I think we've always
Tony made up.
We've always said that Claudio is a phenomenal talent and could have gone much further in WWE. Especially, it almost seemed like they
believed that themselves for a second, didn't they, as well?
Well, for a hot minute, he did. I think his problem's always been from like a promo and a gimmick character standpoint and stuff like that. But I think the fact that he joined the Blackpool Combat Club and immediately he's in a stable with people around him and a mouthpiece in Regal, he could go really far.
Regal is a fucking great mouthpiece, let's be honest.
Yeah, and I think they need to start using him more for that as well, because Moxley can talk, Danielson can talk. You've got the likes of Yuta and Claudio in there now, who aren't the best on the mic, so they would benefit from having someone like Regal doing something.
Especially Claudio, because like Yuta, you got to imagine, with time he's going to end up getting better on the mic, and he's quite greedy to the business, and not like tremendously so, but he is an up and comer, isn't he? In that sense, whereas I think we're firmly set on the fact that Claudio's probably never going to be great on the mic.
Yeah.
But like you say, Regal can sustain that, which is awesome.
Yeah, definitely. So I think it just fits as well. It makes sense. What a hell of a faction that is, and no offense to Yuta, but he's obviously the big weak link. If the faction was made up of Moxley, Danielson, and Claudio, you'd be like, okay, my God. And no offense to Yuta, because they need some youth in there as well. But yeah, it's definitely shaping up to be maybe one of the best factions going right now, which is really good. Yeah, it's a fantastic signing. I think he could go on and be the champ, and he could definitely go over to Ring of Honor and help them out as well. But even just like this match was super technical. It wasn't. Don't get me wrong, and this is no offense to Claudio or Zack here, but it wasn't the match that it would have been if it was Danielson. Of course, it wasn't. But it was still very technical. There was still a lot going on. They still both had a fantastic match, and there was a spot in here where Cesaro basically had Zack Sabre Jr. on his arm, lifted him up one-armed, walked around the ring, up the steel steps, and plonked him in the ring. It's just like, this guy is strong, man. So, yeah. It's good. It's good to see him, and hope he gets some good time, and we see some good stuff from him. I think it's one of those. A lot of people kicking off saying it's even more so. It's all ex-WWE, but if the talent is good, they need, why not bring them in? So
yeah, like, it's funny, isn't it? Yeah, all wrestlers from other wrestling places who are now needing a job. It's crazy. Why would you hire a wrestler to do a wrestling show?
It's almost like WWE, because all their talent is fully homegrown. They definitely haven't brought in people like, Kevin Owens and AJ Styles and Sami Zayn and all those guys. No.
Well, I've seen this a few times on social media, though, where people love to do this whole ex-WWE thing, and I've seen a post quite recently. Apologies, I just can't credit everyone because I can't remember. But someone put up a thing saying, like, name your favourite AEW wrestlers that are, like, not ex-WWE guys. And then, obviously, all the comments are like, are there any? Ha 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 ha, and stuff like that. And then, obviously, you get people who are defending the position with AEW, and then they're going, well, you've got MJF, Darby Allin, etc., and listing loads of people. And then straight away, people are going, well, technically, they're not AEW homegrown guys. They've come from here, and they've come from there, and they've come from there. It's like, right, so we can play that game with anyone that we class as homegrown AEW, but I'm not allowed to include, like, Daniel Bryan because he's an ex-WWE guy.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense, does it?
How can we play that game? So everyone who has been in WWE can't be included, regardless of whether they came from Ring of Honor or anywhere else. But you can't count anyone who's in AEW because they were in the Indies. And it's like, you're just making your own fucking game up here. The end result has to be no one. AEW's made no one because of the rules you've set. It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, it's definitely a strange one.
But again, people like to do it, don't they? Oh, ex-WWE guys. Like, there's plenty of talent who weren't ex-WWE guys, but as you've rightly said, even if they were, they're talented fucking wrestlers and they deserve to work somewhere.
Exactly. So why not? Why not have it be AEW? Why not?
They know
So, yeah,
you should be
good
working
match.
in like a school hall somewhere where we don't have to think about you. Like, why? Just because. Don't want them on TV, apparently.
Indeed.
Anyway, next one, Carl. And there might be a hot take involved in this, but we saw Jay White going up against Hangman Page, going up against Okada, going up against Adam Cole. Now, because of the situation, we had White and Cole. Sorry, can you just pause that one second? So, obviously, we had the connection between Jay White and Adam Cole, which sort of played a part quite early on in the. They formed a bit of an alliance for quite a large portion of the match, to be honest. Generally, the match had some really solid moments, but I think the biggest thing we need to talk about, Carl, and probably the biggest thing I know you want to talk about, will be the finish of the match. Now, I don't know if we fully know what's going on here. I don't think it was a booking decision. I think this was obviously a miscommunication, maybe. We've heard rumours of an injury. So did that affect what's gone on here? But we had Cole dodging the Rainmaker, White hitting the Switchblade on Okada, and then just pins Adam Cole, who looked like he tried to kick out, which again is like there's rumours of Adam Cole being injured and apparently being injured for some time. I don't really know what went on.
It's such a weird one. It proper threw me, to be fair. I think it threw a lot of people in the sense of essentially Adam Cole didn't take the Rainmaker, so he's pretty fresh in a sense. So when Jay White hits Okada with the Switchblade, the fact he just crawls over and pins Adam Cole, and then Adam Cole tries to kick out on 3, but Jay White doesn't let him. I don't know what happened. There's a breakdown in communication somewhere. Some people have kind of said that they think he separated his shoulder, Adam Cole, at some point.
But you see, this is the bit where I'm a bit lost, because you go, well, I get that maybe they didn't want him to, maybe that's why he had to dodge the Rainmaker and not take it, because they knew he was injured. But then why was he the one eating the pin? Because like you say, it kind of looks odd then to us that, like, why couldn't he kick out?
Yeah, it's a weird one. Like, on the one hand, if Jay White's like basically called an audible because somebody's like knocked for 6, or like we need to end the match right now for whatever reason, then fair play, you can't complain too much. But I can't pinpoint exactly where that happened. Now somebody thinks he separated his shoulder when he crouched down for the Rainmaker, but again, why pin Adam Cole then if that was the case?
That's the bit that loses me, because it just makes it look.
And then why does Adam Cole try and kick out as well? Like, surely he would say to him as he's pinning him, like, you know, we're going to go home now. It's like, yeah, like this is it or whatever. But weird. So yeah, it kind of took a massive shine off the match, really. But
sadly, yeah, for what should have been like an absolute killer of a match as well.
And I've got a really controversial take here. I wasn't impressed with Okada. Don't get it.
You know what? It's funny you mentioned that you weren't impressed with Okada, because I was going to ask your opinion on Jay White. Because honestly, and this is my hot take, I'm not saying he's bad by any means, but I feel like he's maybe being a bit overhyped for what he's shown us.
Yeah.
Personally. But I do take your point on Okada as well.
Yeah. I mean, all of them, to be fair. The match was fine, don't get me wrong, but it just, I don't know, something was just off about the whole match, I think. But I can't place exactly what Okada is. Like, he comes out in like a robe and stuff like that, but then he kind of tries to act a bit like The Rock and things. I don't really know. But then he doesn't seem to have that much charisma that I can tell. And his in-ring work was okay. Like, not even, like, you might be able to look past all that and go, but he's fantastic in the ring. Like, you know, we've spoken about Will Ospreay and stuff like that, for example. You might just go, my God, he's good. But I was just like, yeah, he's all right. So I didn't really.
He does seem like, I don't, like, do you have to be a New Japan guy? Or, like,
people seem to fucking
some elements of it. That's the thing. He was treated like a big deal, and I imagine rightly so. But I certainly, like I say, I think if you only ever knew him from this, it'd be very lost on you as to why he's a big deal, I think.
Yeah, maybe this just wasn't one of his best matches. I think
it's clear Forbidden Door is a pay-per-view for people who are probably fans of both New Japan and AEW.
Oh, of course.
But we are people who haven't really watched a lot of New Japan, so it's interesting, like, the perspective I suppose, when you go, well, how well have they sold somebody who we don't really know? And like you say, in the case of Okada, it's like, yeah, you can't really see why he's such a big deal based on this pay-per-view.
No, there's definitely a market where people, mark the fuck out over this pay-per-view. But yeah, I wasn't personally one, because like this is probably the match as well where you would go, okay, this is the Forbidden Door match. You've got two AEW guys, you've got two New Japan guys, all pretty high up, former champs or former challengers. So, but yeah, I don't know. It was okay, but yeah, I think the finish just took all the shine off it, which is, I don't know whether anything's come out about that since. I haven't seen anything to actually explain what it was, but yeah, it was.
I don't know if this was actually before. No, it must have been after. I've heard rumours of Adam Cole, like, that he's been battling with an injury for a little while. In fact,
yeah. I mean, I believe he was working injured. I know Britt put a tweet out, didn't she, saying like, you won't believe how much effort people put in, and basically trying to almost defend Adam Cole or whatever. So I don't really know what's gone on, but yeah, it was okay. And unfortunately, the main event, I am not going to sing massive praises about that either. I think for me, it was always a foregone conclusion that Moxley was going to win it.
I don't know. I was saying to you, like, I was expecting maybe we get Tanahashi winning and some time.
But you're a crazy person.
I know, but clearly because I was wrong. But
no, I don't know. I just I couldn't have seen them put the AEW title on a New Japan guy at this moment in time. So I always kind of knew the outcome in my mind, how it was going to play out. And the match itself was fine. It definitely wasn't a bad match, but yeah, there was parts in it where like Moxley got like massively split open, but it was based off nothing. It wasn't like as a result of anything mega. It was just like, they need to get some blood, so he just went out in the ring and just cut his head for no reason. So I was like, right, okay. So we had all that, and then the match itself was fine. It was just it didn't feel like a main event to me, unfortunately. But very happy for Moxley, 2-time champ. And what I wasn't a fan of the most, right? And I don't know your thoughts on this, is you've just crowned a new interim champ, so that should be where all the celebration is, confetti, all this good stuff. Instead, they did an angle to set up Blood and Guts, because obviously that's today. And there wasn't much time between turning over the pay-per-view on the Sunday to when Blood and Guts was, and they weren't able to hype it because they had to hype Forbidden Door. So they booked themselves into a mess. So I understand why they've done this, but I wasn't a fan of it, where end of the match they bring down all the guys and they have this big brawl, and I was just like, that's not what you do at the end of a pay-per-view. That's what you do at a ending of a bad episode of TV, not the end of your pay-per-view.
Yeah, do you know what? I take your point on that. I think it's almost disrespectful to the title as well, that it didn't get the pay-per-view time that it should have got.
No, and I get it. It's like, well, it's only the interim title. Like CM Punk's the real champ, but it's like, well, no, you're introducing an interim belt, so you class it as the belt until.
Plus, that's like you the have story you build when Punk's back, isn't it?
Well, exactly. So I don't know. That's what I mean. I don't want to shit on them too much, because I get that they had to put some more animosity behind Blood and Guts, because it would have felt, because like that's the problem with me, is they were setting up this stuff, and then Regal came out and was like, Blood and Guts. And it was like, oh, okay. And then it was like, right, let's drop all that, because we've got to build Forbidden Door for a couple of weeks. So it was like, hang on. So it just felt, the time it just felt off.
We'll try and call AEW when we should. And like you say, it just felt like a bit of poor planning, that really.
Yeah. I mean, they're not invincible, you know what I mean? Like, I tend to agree and like a lot of the stuff they do. Maybe more so than WWE at the moment, with the exception of like Rumble and Mania season. But yeah, I don't know. It just this felt bad to me, and it was a bit of a damp squib to end the pay-per-view, because it was really good up until the last two matches for me. So I kind of ended up leaving the pay-per-view with a bit of a feeling, which is a shame, because really the majority of matches were actually really good. But so yeah, that was the pay-per-view. And if we do scores on the doors, I think it was 6-3 to AEW for the main card.
Damn.
And it was 2-1 to AEW in the opening. So for those of you who can do maths,
that's a lot.
In fact, no, I can't do maths because I haven't done it right. It was 4-2 to AEW for the main card and 2-1 on the buy-in, which made it 6-3 overall to AEW.
I get you. So yeah. To be fair, that wasn't maths. That was reading.
Well, yeah. So I can't do English or maths. You want to see me try science? It's terrible. I
always thought French was your subject.
Oui.
Yeah.
Oui.
Which is mad, because you were a fan of our French teacher.
Well, not my French teacher.
Not my French teacher. Do we not have the same French teacher?
Nah.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Anyway,
why are we digressing into this?
I have no idea. But anyway, yeah. So, because we're crossing through the Forbidden Door, because that's what we do. So, all in all, all in all, I would say the pay-per-view was better than we probably expected. But for me personally, the last couple of matches just kind of didn't live up to the hype, which is a bit of a shame. But I'm glad that it happened. I'm glad that we got to see some cool stuff. Claudio is now a member of AEW and is in the Blackpool Combat Club, which is awesome. But now I'm glad that we can move firmly onto, AEW solely again now and start to build up the next set of feuds and storylines there, because, I'm not really sure where they're all going at the minute because they've had to divert their attention to this. So, How about you? What are your thoughts? Final thoughts on Forbidden Doors?
I think it was a much better pay-per-view. Not much better. I think I got more out of it than I thought I would. And that's I'm being careful about me wording on that, because I wouldn't say it was much better. It was probably as good as it was going to be in terms of quality. And I know a lot of people absolutely love this as a concept, and obviously love the Indies and love New Japan and love what's going on with it all. But for someone in my position, Carl, I think it exceeded what the enjoyment I thought I'd get out of it. I certainly got a lot more. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think it was one of the better pay-per-views AEW has put together.
Fair play. And to be fair, I hope they do a second one. Maybe like an annual or biannual event. So it'd be nice, but I think hopefully they'll take the learnings from this to not derail the whole television product for a few weeks. To focus solely on
Forbidden Door. Are we going to?
I think so.
There? Like Forbidden Window.
Forbidden cat flap. What? Whole different show, that one. So thank you.
The Forbidden Back Door.
If you're still here to hear the ramblings of two very tired men, then we appreciate you sticking around for this point. If you haven't already, check out This Week in Wrestling, where we spoke about all the other stuff, non-Forbidden Dory, about AEW. Forbidden Dory, the latest in the Finding Nemo films.
Not one I'm going to watch, to be honest.
No. Disney's really clutching at straws now. And then also, obviously, Ringside Report. We chatted all the news. That was a bit somber as well, to be fair. But still watch it, though. Still listen to it. It was okay. Yeah. And we're about to chat our predictions for Money in the Bank. So make sure you stick around for that right. So, two tired men saying
there we are.
Goodbye. And here's Griff Garrison to say goodbye as well.
Hey, Griff.
This is Griff Garrison, and you're listening to A2theK.
A2theK.
A2theK.